Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to put together a base recipe for risotto. It's a great dish. People don't often make it at the house. If you start with a good rice here like this arborio, it's a shorter grain rice, which is going to give it a great creamy texture in the end. All right, so we need a stock to put this thing together, and you can choose from any number of these stocks. If you want to go vegetable or beef, today we're going to use chicken. These stocks are all nice, full-bodied, but they have a lot less salt in them, so you can add however much you want. So I'm a little low on truffle oil at the house, plus it's going to be a great addition to our risotto. So this extra virgin olive oil that's been infused with black truffle has a ton of flavor. We're going to use it right at the end of cooking, so we really capture that essence of it. Let's go put this thing together. All right, we're going to put this risotto together. I've got everything I need here kind of laid out. And what we're going to start with, I'm going to start with about a low heat or so on this burner here. And I'm going to go in with 3 tablespoons of olive oil to start with. And this is to soften our onions. We're going to get these cooking for about 5 minutes. You're going to sweat them so we don't get a lot of color on these. We're just trying to get the onions nice and soft, some flavor out of those. And then I've got 4 cups of stock here. I'm going to start heating that up, so by the time I'm ready to add my rice, this is at a simmer. Here we go. Okay, now that my onions are softened, I'm going to take my 1 cup of arborio rice, and we're going to cook that out a little bit. And what I'm trying to do here is actually toast the rice a little bit. We're going to get it all coated with oil. And what happens here, it gets a little bit of that toasty flavor, but it actually helps to sort of seal that rice. It'll start to let off a little bit of that starch as we go to cook that. So we're going to cook that for about 2 minutes. You know, there's a lot of different ways that we can make this risotto different. You know, this time I'm going to take a little bit of mushrooms, maybe a little bit of salt and pepper, some olive oil, and simply toss it up and roast it. 400 degrees, we're going to roast it till it's nice and crispy. You could saute it if you wanted to. You know, I'm going to add some of this stuff in the risotto at the end. You know, so this time I'm going to use mushrooms. Another time, if I happen to have a little bit of spinach, maybe some grilled chicken breast, I could toss that in my risotto at the end. Or any kind of roasted vegetable if you felt like, or even just simply a bunch of herbs in the end. There's a lot of different ways. So this is a great basic risotto recipe that you can change, use great just as is, but then you can change a myriad of ways. So now that our rice is nice and toasted, I've got my stock. Today we're using chicken stock. I'm going to add about a cup to start out with. We're going to start to cook that through it. And the idea here is you're going to cook this through on about medium heat for the rest of the time, stirring it constantly. And that friction is going to start to release some of that starch slowly throughout that to create a nice creamy stock around it. We're going to let this get absorbed, and then we'll start continuing to add the rest of our stock. This is a point where we're going to add a little bit more stock to this. That friction helps to release a little bit of that starch. We're going to add a spoonful at a time, a ladleful at a time, if you will, right? And we're just going to continue to cook this until we're cooked all the way through. We've used all our liquid, and it's al dente in the end. All right, so we're ready to finish this thing up. I've added the last ladleful of my stock there. It's taken about 25 minutes. I was continuously stirring throughout the whole process. It's nice and creamy. It's a little bit al dente, and throughout the process, I've added a little bit of salt and pepper, checked it throughout. And the last thing we're going to add is a tablespoon of butter. I mean, this is just to make it a little bit more creamy right at the end. We mix that in, and like I said, there's a lot of different ways you can do this, and like my mushrooms are nice and roasted. So we're going to add that in. One more, all right. And then, you know, you can add herbs at this point if you want, but all we're going to do is fold this together, nice and creamy. It's going to be al dente, like I said. We're just going to plate this in our bowl. Nice portion here. One thing to remember when you're finishing risotto, 10 minutes out, you want to make sure that your guests are seated because they wait on the risotto. The risotto doesn't wait on us because right now it's at the perfect consistency. A little bit of cheese on there, and just to gild the lily a little bit, how about a little bit of truffle oil? You know, guys, have fun with this one. It's a basic recipe. There's lots of different ways you can do this.